Next slide, Dave. All right. So, council, are you interested in this slide? So as y'all know, we in council you passed the ordinance just recently, and as for parking violations in the cycling areas. And so the action since is we have removed the load unload signs and replaced with no parking signs. Traffic delineators have been installed. We're monitoring those daily to ensure they stay installed. Next spring, city staff will construct the new curb and gutter and fill in the sidewalk to align with the current configuration. So just a quick update on that. Next slide.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So USS Bremerton, this is an exciting project. And so really appreciate the partnership with the Navy League on this one. Just giving you this update. We have recently received an agreement from WashDOT, so allowing the city to construct and maintain a Navy memorial on the property. So important step. And so now we can move forward with that in mind and that confidence, and we'll continue on the transfer portion as we're working through this. But again, we are full speed ahead. We can start the process. All right, that concludes my report, Council.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Now we will go to the consent agenda. Clerk Angela Hoover, please go ahead.
Thank you, Vice President Mockler. For approval on the consent agenda are the following items. A, claims and check register. Approval of the following checks and electronic fund transfers. 1, check numbers 408445 through 408554 and EFT numbers V41875 through V41947, and the grand total amount of $1,845,663.47. 2, regular payroll for pay period ending September 15th, 2024, and the amount of $1,088,802.69. 3, regular payroll payout for pay period ending September 15th, 2024, in the amount of $1,885.74. 4, retiree payroll for pay period ending September 30th, 2024, in the amount of $30,397.40. B, minutes of meeting September 18th, 2024. C, minutes of study session September 25th, 2024. D, confirm appointment of Susan Blackburn to the Bremerton Arts Commission. And E, acceptance of port security grant through the Federal Emergency Management Agency for the purchase of a new rescue fireboat. This concludes the reading of the consent agenda.
If any member of the public wishes to speak to any of these consent agenda items, we only ask that you state your name for the record, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. The little timer thingy on the podium will tell you when that's happening. Does any member of the public wish to comment on any of the consent agenda items? Mr. Patty, go ahead.
Thank you. Craig Patty, president of the Bremerton Firefighters Union. Pretty soon be my 19th year working for the City of Bremerton Fire Department. I'd like to thank the council for the support at the study session for the rescue boat. It is one of those low frequency, very high risk situations we find ourselves in on a more than probably anticipated basis. And just kind of give an anecdotal tale. When I was assigned to the downtown fire station on Wednesdays is our training day for the boat. On more times than not, when we were out doing training, we would pick up a distress signal over the Coast Guard radios. Oftentimes, being out in the water, we're able to respond for those help, including pulling a family of 4 off a sinking vessel off the north end of Blake Island. That usually isn't really reported within the news and stuff. It's just something we're able to quickly adapt to. So we've seen that boat pay for itself time and again with the amount of shoreline, the amount of water activities during the summer. That boat by our location is able to get to so many places and help so many other communities, not just Bremerton. And one last note I'll leave you with is another day working out downtown. We got called for a boat fire. Turned out not to be an active fire, but we were able to make it from our station, say at about 8 o'clock at night, to the north or almost to Manchester within 15 minutes with the current boat, which is a little bit heavy on the I should say maybe a little outdated. This boat is going to enhance our abilities with our rescue swimmer program, with our neighbors to Port Orchard and Silverdale and Bainbridge. I think it's a great asset to the community at large. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patty. Does any other member of the public wish to comment on any of the consent agenda items? Okay. Seeing none, we will go to the council for a motion. Councilor Fry?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Revlowski. We have a motion and a second. Seeing no further discussion, let us vote on the consent agenda.
Councilmember Fry,
Yes.
Coughlin,
Yes.
Rebelowski,
Yes.
Goodnow,
Yes.
Mochler.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Next up is public recognition. As indicated on the agenda, public recognition provides an opportunity for attendees to address the council on any issue not already on tonight's agenda. There will be no public comments accepted via Zoom unless prior arrangements were made through the city clerk, Angela Hoover, by calling 360-473-5323 at least 24 hours prior to the meeting. This is also a reminder that it is still election season, so please refrain from any endorsements or comments about candidates or ballot measures. Again, we only ask that you state your name for the record and please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. A timer system will be used so that everyone is treated fairly. This is not a time for question and answer. Council will not respond to your comments, but you can send us an email at city.council@bremertonwa.gov and you will get a response to that email. Okay, with that, I'll open up public recognition.
Hi, good evening. I'm Jocelyn. I'm Jocelyn La Madrid from the Bremerton Prayer Walk. I also work with Rock the Block. I had sent an email earlier regarding some of the concerns that I have with the enforcement of this anti-camping ordinance, which we have seen has kind of been used as a weapon. And I just want to, you guys have it. I want to first premise everything by saying, I know our city officials are doing a hard job. I know our police departments are doing a hard job right now. And my heart goes out to them. I know that our mayor really loves our city and he's trying hard to make it nice for everyone involved. And so I do want to say that I appreciate that and I acknowledge that. But I also want to say that there are some serious concerns that I have. And I think it should give us all a moment to pause just to see what is happening and what is going on with the enforcement of this ordinance. One of the things as I've been thinking is what's going to motivate us to try something different, to do something different other than this anti-camping ordinance, which the effect, as we have seen, is pushing people out into areas that we can't reach with I call them interruptions. They're in despair and there's all of these negative thoughts and negative things being thrown at them. How are we going to be able to interrupt those thoughts with hope? And we're not able to do that. I had a woman send me a text message and it was absolutely heartbreaking. She had been living in the woods for 3 years and did not have any personal contact with anyone. And she came down to the streets on Saturday morning just to get a hug because and we probably hugged for like 3 minutes. I mean, it was a long hug. And that's what people are missing. We saw another individual who just hung himself in the woods yesterday because he was alone and he was known to us. We're isolating these individuals and there's hope for them. We've been building on hope. And for the past 4.5 years, we've been down there building on hope. And now they're being pushed away and it's really quite concerning. Also, they're moving into areas that they're not meant to be in. We're not in residential areas. You've got families that are concerned because it's new and they don't understand mental illness and addiction. And those are
30
your
seconds.
constituents. Those are your constituents that are going to be voting for you. And I just want to touch base on the property that is being destroyed without any kind of a hearing and violation is that the city's response was there is no garbage. We haven't had to, or there is no personal property. And that could sure concern us all, especially with the fact that they indicated that they the mayor's report last time. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry I had to cut you off. I have to be fair to everybody. Is there anyone else for public recognition?
It's okay. Are we okay now? Okay, Angie, I'm from Bremerton. Well, not really, but to kind of piggyback on what Rock the Block has said, I've been walking the streets at the same time. As somebody who's fought the streets, I feel like I'm in the streets as well. I feel like that Bremerton is becoming like the city of Seattle. I've been over at Seattle and see the square fences around just about everything because we don't want individuals in there. I get it 100%, but where do we go? I've also been physically hit. I've been approached by individuals who have experienced homelessness down at Salvation Army. I've heard nothing but negative things because there is no hope as getting them out of Salvation Army. I've heard that there's nothing that the director is pretty harsh with trying to get them anywhere. And while that's not my problem, at the same time, we do have a problem here where's the hope? I get it. But at the same time, if individuals are in these agencies telling these people that I run this place and that's it, they're not going to leave and they're going to be pushed somewhere else and they're going to go somewhere else. I know what it's like. I ran other places because I didn't feel safe. And that's the biggest concern that I feel is, well, these are my feelers. If I was out here on the streets, I'd go further and live in a tent. And I understand we don't want that here, but at the same time, where's the shelters? Where's all the shelters here? Where do we go? I mean, even if I was to lose my housing today, where would I go? And that's it right today. I know what it's like to go from top to bottom. Where would I go? And I'll tell you right now, I won't take my family to Salvation Army. I know I'll be on a wait list if I go to KCR. So where's KCR in the city figuring out where to help people go? And that's the biggest concern is we need not just Salvation Army low barriers, but we have families that have to be on guard too for things that are going on. So I'm going to wrap it up here because I do see what the city is doing, but I don't feel that Congress having to sit here with gates, that it's not welcoming and it's not, it's just not welcoming. It's like Seattle. And that's where I feel the city is kind of leading into, and I hope not to see that. So I just wanted to give my 2 cents in. So thank you.
Thank you. And again, if you'd like a response to any of your comments, please email city.council@bremertonwa.gov. Anyone else for public recognition? Come on up.
Hi, Naomi Levine, Bremerton City resident. I wanted to bring some additional perspective on the last 2 comments. So I walk 6th Street home every day. At this point, I feel like you probably know where I live. I get the the joy of getting to talk with people on my commute home. It's a pretty short commute, but I still get to talk with folks. There was a woman I knew from some of my external work who was at Salvation Army last week for housing there because she had lost her other housing. And she was on a wait list for housing that would be more appropriate to meet her needs. And she was telling me about her evening at Salvation Army that she had already been to previously. And she said, I'm doing everything I can to get out of here because on the streets, this place is known as death row. It's not a place where you go and you come out of very easily. And luckily she has a lot of support, and I'm hopeful that she's been able to transfer to her new space. She doesn't owe me that info, but um, I I hear that we constantly talk about, well, there's shelter beds available, there's spaces open, but I mean, when I even think about my own family who are gay, who are trans, who are lesbians, who have been unhoused, Salvation Army is not a friendly place to go. I mean, a lot of my family's Jewish. I wouldn't go to Salvation Army. I'd have to hide so much about myself if I was there, if I lost my housing. It wouldn't be a safe place to be. And to know that it's colloquially known as death row doesn't really add any hope to that scenario. I mean, compounding on issues of hope, there was a really fantastic event last week talking about connections in our community and isolation and loneliness. And that is a major cause of death for people. We all went through the pandemic together, at least in some capacities. Isolation kills people. It makes monsters of ourselves on the inside. If you haven't watched The Twilight Zone in a while, that's based on some real things that happen to people. And a lot of it is you fold in on yourself and you become a monster to yourself. And this is what we're doing to people. And it's really unfortunate to see. So say hey to someone on your commute home, genuinely, and don't do it patronizingly. Be nice to people.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for public recognition? Going once, going twice? Okay. And I will now close public recognition. Before we go into the next announcement, I'm just announcing the budget workshops, which are open to the public, and a time for anyone to have input onto how the city spends your money and our money. The first is on Thursday, October 24th at 3 p.m., provisionally in the mayor's chambers on the 6th floor, provisionally. That will be general fund. On Monday, October 28th at 3 p.m., again, provisionally in the mayor's chambers at 3 p.m. will be public works. And then on Thursday, November 7th, 2 days after Election Day at 3 p.m., again, provisionally in the same place, is a time when people can comment in real time. You are always able to comment on the budget, which should be available a week before October 23rd. In general, that's when it becomes available to us and to you. Yeah. In general, that's when it will happen. You are welcome to comment by email as well. So moving on to general business, which there is none tonight, we will go straight to council reports. Since this is the first meeting of the month, we will begin to District 1. Please take it away, Councilor Frack. Oh, 2. All right.
Yeah,
Hey.
Jennifer Chamberlain is not with us tonight.
It was a natural inclination to make
However, I'm
number
going to be
1.
referring to her, so it was fortuitous. Yeah, let's get into the slides. I don't know which one is first, so. Go ahead. Yeah. Speaking of partnering with Jennifer Chamberlain, Jennifer, of course, is the district member for District 1. I represent District 2. Want everybody to know I designed that. I'm so proud. Don't ask me how long it took, please. got sucked into Canva for an afternoon. But it does remind me of the inside of Heathen's Bakery, which is where this particular district meeting is going to be. Jennifer Chamberlain, of course, operates that, so we get it for free, and who knows, there might even be baked goods. We're going to have, of course, our, I'm not going to call it a dog and pony show. No, it's much more professional than that, Mr. Jackson. We'll have Garrett Jackson presenting on the comprehensive plan, hoping maybe somebody from transportation shows up. We got some big deals, you know, so get involved. Come down and share with us. Next slide, please, Dave. I'm just going to keep this one up as something's been bothering me a little bit. And so it festered and I decided to have a little fun with it. This is all about craft breweries. Now, y'all know that I don't drink. So craft brewery for me is not about the beer. It's about community. And so a little tongue in cheek tonight. Champagne taste on a beer budget is a phrase that's been used since the Depression. It's not used often anymore, but during the Depression, it was used to refer to those who had lost everything and still wanted what they lost. Imagine that. They were referred to as having a rich man's taste on a poor man's budget. This is true. When champagne taste on a beer budget was used recently in public comment on the Warren Avenue Bridge project, I immediately knew what they meant. And I have to admit, I was a little bit offended. I don't consider Bremerton a poor city. While Bremerton has the highest poverty rate in Kitsap County, it's also the county's largest city municipality with the largest budget. Our decisions impact over 40,000 people, all of whom deserve the best we can provide. Ensuring that is our goal. I also have an issue with the disparagement of beer. In fact, the craft brew industry in Washington is number 14 in the state's Economic Development Index. Champagne isn't even considered. Locally brewed beer is a big deal here in Bremerton too. At last count, we had 6 locally owned breweries right here in Bremerton. I think there's another one waiting to get in. They're not only community and cultural hubs, they're drawing tourists too. They're cool, they're hip. Many offer family activities, something unheard of in bars back in the day. It's a part of the new culture here in Bremerton. Young professionals and families looking for an affordable place to live have been moving to Bremerton, not only for its affordability, but for its culture. Terms like industrial, edgy, artsy, diversity, and sense of community are common themes. I heard them a lot from the folks who joined us on the Bridging Bremerton walk a couple of weeks ago. What does this all have to do with us? Those young professionals and families, as well as many who have lived here for years, are walking, biking, and rolling. Bremerton is becoming a multimodal city, and that in itself is part of the cultural evolution underway. We're not poor. We're rich in opportunities, and I, for one, say let's take advantage of them and build a more livable Bremerton. We're not on a beer budget. We're on an IPA budget, and there's a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fry. Next up is District 3, Councilor Jeff Coughlin.
Let me say, as a home brewer for about 14 years now, and a connoisseur, I appreciate that presentation because I agree, beer's come a long way. So we do have a lot of amazing breweries and small businesses in the city here. I do my best impression of, I like beer. On a serious note, though, I want to thank all the public speakers for coming up, and the appreciation for the difficult decisions that that we make and the mayor makes and staff, has to deal with. But I think what's so important is for us to hear the impact of those decisions on a continuing basis, because nothing's permanent. We strive to do our best, but nothing's ever 100% right, and it's difficult balances to strike. So if we need to shift one way or the other, continuing to hear what's happening is really impactful. So I just want to thank you for that. And I do want to report there's good progress on the hybrid shelter with the Affordable Housing Task Force that not only involves KCR and KMH and St. Vincent de Paul, the county's involved. A bunch of other groups have joined in recently. So just holding off on specific details. There's really, really good optimistic progress there. So just stay tuned on that. Back to speaking of beer in my district, just want to thank Public Works for continuing to keep an eye on streeteries downtown. And the streeteries that are in place, it sounds like we'll be able to get permits through next year as we continue to work on a path forward for that. And I know there's some meetings coming up with staff and business owners. So thanks for continuing to work with them and find a solution there to keep them around and make lively gathering spaces. Let's see what else. 6th Street. I didn't have a slide yet, but I don't know if Mayor mentioned his report, but there is a website, Google 6th Street Bremerton, and there's a survey open, I think, through the end of the month to give input on that project, kind of priorities for redoing the street there. 11th as well in Washington. I know there's been great progress with the roundabout and getting that all done. I've had some folks, continually ask what's up with the gravel squares and the patches there. And I know we're waiting on lighting to come in. I think my request, if staff or admin are able to do it, is to look at trying to patch at least one side of the street to create a walkway until those come in, even if it's just something very temporary to try and look at that. But I know those are delayed. And then comp plan meeting, I'm reaching out to the Manette Business Association and Neighborhood Coalition on one side of my district, and then the Downtown Bremerton Association on the other, to set up some comp plan meetings there. And then we'll reach out to staff to see if we can coordinate to get input. So I know we have some amazing materials coming out that staff has worked really hard on that summarize all the changes in a really digestible way. So just my appreciation for that. And they are digests, so that was not even intentioned. And then last thing, I snuck in late because there was a ribbon cutting over at Mountain View Middle School for the new sports complex. So great to go by there. It is looking incredible, and that is going to be a really just class facility for the city for all. But it's not just folks at Mountain View; the whole school district gets to use it. So that was really neat to go there. Sorry, I was a few minutes late rushing back from it, but good excitement over there and progress to report. That's it for me.
Thanks, Councillor Coughlin. Next up, District 4, Councillor Jane Rebelowski.
Thank you. I don't have a big report today because I was on the East Coast for about 10 days. Got there a little bit early. Didn't see any great color for leaf change up in Maine and Massachusetts and Connecticut. But if you want to see some beautiful leaf color, come up by the high school. Those big maple trees look fantastic. They're bright red right now. And also near the high school, Bremerton Food Line has completed the majority of their updates, and it's wonderful. And of course, they always need volunteers, lots of volunteers. But you're going to be amazed how beautiful this place is now. And you'll get to see it at my next district meeting, which is going to be November 21st, and it's going to be held in the lobby of Bremerton Food Line. So if you could bring a non-perishable item, that'd be like the week before Thanksgiving. So they'll need plenty of extra things so that everybody in our community can celebrate. And I'm going to get with staff because there's somebody who I would like to come be our speaker, but I'm not sure if they're going to be available that night. But I will announce before that district meeting what our major topic is going to be. But thank you, everybody, and enjoy October.
Thank you, Councillor Rebelowski. Next, District 5, Councillor Michael Goodnow.
I think I've got a couple slides. Art Walk is this Friday downtown and over in Lebo and Manette and on the Charleston district or Callow Avenue. And they kind of double down on the amount of food that's available down there. And it really is probably the most diverse food neighborhood in the whole city. And I think sometimes we even forget what we have down here. So I think it's always good to go out and explore some of these areas and just kind of rediscover some of the great stuff that we have in the city here. So next slide. Also, I'm really excited about this because I just love the marketing on this. But on October 26th, downtown, down in Callow, they're calling it Calloween, which I just think is brilliant. And so there's a whole Halloween thing from 5 to 10 p.m. happening. I believe that's Saturday night, October 26th. And then there is also a scheduled cleanup on, but I couldn't find absolute information, but we believe it's on October 12th, which is really fun. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. We did a formal agreement with the county. County's got a great program. It's to help clean up little spots, and they provide tools and gloves and bags and stuff. And it's really kind of fun. And when I've been able to do it, I've been able to meet neighbors and things like that. So it's really kind of a nice way to meet community. And you don't have to do one in your own community. You can go to the next community over too. So come down to Callow and help out. And they haven't announced it yet, but also I believe the next Callow meeting is either next Tuesday or the Tuesday after, or the Charleston Business District meeting. Tuesday after next. That makes more sense. And did I mention anything else? I think that's all I have. So thank you and have a great week. Yeah, I was gonna mention my son basically lost his house in the storms out in the Carolinas, and they're great. They're fine. They're miserable, but they're doing great. They're amazing. But it just really made me think that they had made a post about how folks had come together and things like that. And somebody was talking about something earlier that kind of made me think I would bring that up, and I hadn't really fully thought about how, but it's really great how we come together and how we come together to solve problems and things like that. And the storm gives us a little more urgency, but maybe we need some more urgency on solving some other problems at hand. So anyways, it was just something that was kind of rolling around in my head, but my heart goes out to all those families dealing with it. And like I said, my kids are fine. They're just, they're not loving it, but they're going to come through it. They have what they need. And, but there's lots of people in worse shape. And, we're always, I feel like, just a short while away from possibly having, an earthquake or something like that here. And we need to be prepared. We need to look out for each other. So I don't know where that went, but that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Goodnow. So Lashana Tova, Happy New Year. May the coming year bring peace. So I was going to talk about the Beaver Wetland, which is not in my district, and the proposed forestry plan where the burning question is how many board feet, which is also not in my district. Fortunately, 15 plus of my people who are in my district asked me to meet with them Monday night at the Family Pancake House. And I promised that I would carry this message to council, so here goes. It's about nuisance properties, and there's good news at the end. Okay. In the 2100 block of East Finney Bay Drive, drug dealing, on-street drug use, theft, garbage, drone surveillance, and noise are some of the complaints about this property. Arrests were made last month, but there are still many people staying there. The city is moving along on abatement of this property. And meanwhile, two houses were sold, and at least 2 renters moved away because the situation had become unbearable. In the 2800 block of 19th Street, drug dealing, on-street drug use, theft, garbage, property damage, illegally parked and unregistered vehicles on streets and adjacent streets, garbage and noise are some of the complaints made about a property. The property next door is for sale because the situation has become unbearable. At 11th and Rainier, an apparently mentally ill person, because, not a professional, screamed for over 18 months, day and night, that she was being raped, assaulted, harmed, and more. BPDA navigators worked hard with her, but her behavior did not rise to the level where she could be involuntarily given mental health treatment. A neighbor reported seeing her with a butane lighter hours before the house burned down in early January of this year. As hearings slowly proceeded, the city kept working on having hearings. The screaming woman continued squatting in the burned house and continued screaming. Very soon, within days after a hearing concluded that the city was going to consider condemning the property, the house burned to the ground on May 24th. By that time, at least one property owner, an OC professor, had sold her house and moved away. Later, the screaming woman returned to burgle several houses, and at that time she was arrested. Okay, so there's more of them, but that gives you the flavor, I'm sure. So here's the good news. BPD was patrolling one of these properties last night. They found a woman sitting in a parked car on street. She had a warrant and was arrested. There was probable cause, but I don't remember it. She said she was waiting for her boyfriend who was inside. Bremerton police found him in the cellar in a wardrobe, which they said sadly did not translate him to Narnia. Sufficient cause was found for arresting 2 other people in the house, and patrolling a property that has received these multiple nuisance complaints bore fruit. And I am so proud of Bremerton Police Department for this tactic. And neighbors are also really happy about this good policing. So the thing is, almost all of these complaints began with noise complaints. So at first, Bremerton Police said the city had no noise ordinance. Then when I said, yes, council passed one in November 22, they trained on it. The Chief Wolf has said at various times that the noise ordinance was bad law, unenforceable, that Bremerton Police sought compliance above citation, that the state legislature had directed BPD and other local police departments to make low-level crimes a low-level priority, that the police department was understaffed and recommended that neighbors should sue. Our city attorney drafted this noise ordinance. Council approved it unanimously. There were zero, the mayor vetoed it and it passed into law without his signature, automatically. There were 0 citations in 2023, 1 so far in 2024. So I am calling for the mayor, the police chief, and the city attorney Fennell to meet with neighbors of alleged nuisance properties in a public meeting. Enforcement of low-level crimes can deter escalation into higher-level crimes. And our police patrol logs show that issuing a citation for a low-level crime often turns up warrants, concealed drugs or weapons, and other causes for arrest. I don't think that neighbors should have more rights than people with behavioral or mental problems. I just think they should have equal rights with them, and that Bremerton should cherish the people who want to live here peaceably and contribute to the civic engagement in our city. Yeah, that was pretty much it. I hope that everybody has a really good couple of weeks, and there is gorgeous color at the high school. There is also fantastic color at Pendergast, and I hope you get out and about in it. Thank you all for listening. Hang on, let me go to the script. The next study session will be held in the 6th floor council conference room on Wednesday, October 9th, beginning at 5 p.m. with a remote option available by Zoom. And this concludes tonight's regular council business. Meeting is adjourned.